So good evening everyone, this is Aishan Rao. I am PhD student from IT Tripati and this is the 8th session for programming in Java. So for today's code that we are going to discuss today, I have already shared in the chat but I am again sharing it right now. So please share it with others as well so who can't see this message. So I am pinning it again. So in case others can't see, you can check that. So let me start sharing by sharing my screen and then we will see what we are going to discuss today. So let me share my screen. Okay, I think screen is coming up already. So today we are going to try to cover 4 topics today, two small ones which are called as boxing, that is boxing and unboxing or auto boxing. Then second short thing is enums. We will talk about enums as a special type of property in Java, and followed by abstract class and interfaces. So today we are going to try to focus much on uh, abstraction, but followed by these two small topics. Okay, so before coming to boxing aspect, so let's talk some basic aspect of the Java. Java support most of the primitive type. Okay, uh, so in like there are many object-oriented programming languages there, but usually Java supports all different type of primitive type, that the one we are calling as int, float, character, and all that. Okay, however, other program object oriented languages prefer to just say as deal in the terms of objects, not any primitive data type. So it's a job of so when we are passing some data in terms of objects, it's the task of their own compiler to identify which kind of data it is. Okay, but this leads to additional memory and bit more processing as it requires for other programming language. Okay, so Java supports primitive data type, right? That we have seen already, but not in all cases. So it doesn't support in the cases of Java collection. Okay, so last time that we have seen, we have discussed this point earlier also, that for an array list and linked list, if I try to initialize them or declare them using this line of linked list, and I have specified the type of my linked list as specific primitive data type, that is in this case int, it will the compile it will not compile, it will give me a compiler error. Okay, so that means the list function, specifically in this case right now, since we already seen the array list and all, it the primitive data types may not work into this. Okay, so for example, to show you as a code, so we have an function called main. We have with public static void main, and we have tried to define linked list uh, linked list with the primitive data type, right? We are trying to define a linked list of int type. Okay, so now if I hover over it, you can, I hope you can see my screen, that is say that type argument cannot be of primitive type. So by default, in by nature it is not showing this, but if I try to run this code, so if I try to run this code for the linked list, we try to with primitive data type, so it is saying that it should show a compiler error. So let's see what kind of compiler error. So it is saying unexpected type, so it requires reference int and all that. But if I, so it will work, it work for same for if I write float, it still give me an error. If I write character, it still will give me an error of the same type. Okay, but if I write string, okay, now red line has been gone from the IntelliJ, so this kind of error will not get the of unexpected type. So what's happening here? So what exactly happening here is, the linked list or array list that we're trying to use is a Java collection. So it has uh, inbuilt functionalities provided by Java, and we're using this function. But the rule here is what they're saying, that I can't use a primitive data type. But but there will be lot of scenarios where I have to use the integer values or character values, float values in my things, right? So how should I use it if I can't declare using my primitive data types of any linked list, array list, or list in this case? How should I use it? So here the concept of boxing will come into picture. Okay, so we will try to access the value of int not directly but indirectly with their wrapper classes. So those who are there in the earlier sessions, the first session or first or second session, we talk about the wrapper classes of our primitive data type. Okay, so these are the one that for boolean we have wrapper class called boolean with capital B, for byte with capital B, integer with capital I, okay, int integer capital I, float with capital F. These are wrapper classes defined by the Java. So if I want to access, create a linked list which can access int value, I should use this wrapper class. And now using this wrapper class, I will try to store my primitive points. Okay. So so what will happen here is, so instead of int, if I write integer, as you can see now the red line is not coming. That means it will compile properly within the rules. Okay, now this is happening because of some concept called as boxing. Okay, so so basically it's just a wrapper on the main data, which is a primitive value. Okay, so each wrapper type box is a specific type of primitive value. So what this is a box that we can call as wrapper classes, which is boxing a primitive value, be it int, character, double, like that. So how can we box it? Okay, so I hope you can understand that I can't directly use int value using the int keyword and all that. So I'm using a longer way, indirect way, using the its wrapper classes. Okay, so how do I box it? Now if I want to pass integer value but I can't pass directly, so I will use a integer class, wrapper. So this is an integer wrapper class that I'm highlighting right now in the slide. Okay, so this is my value called 15, which is an integer. Now if I can't pass an integer variable, I will try to create an object of an integer wrapper class called as boxint, and from using this value of function I will try to pass this value and keep this in integer boxint. This is an object of the integer wrapper class. Okay, so using value of function I can take any primitive value and return the instance of the wrapper class. So this boxing is the object, and this object I will pass it on in my respective array list, linked list, or any other Java collection. So this is called as manual boxing. So the one that we have seen in this slide is called manual boxing, where we are explicitly specifying integer boxing and with the value of function. Okay, now there's another way of doing this also. So I will create an object, and I will, like a standard way of how we create an object, right, using new keyword and then followed by class name and followed by the value. So this value, integer value, we're trying to uh, we will pass, and from that object we will keep that 15 in the box 10. So consider that it's a variable, it's basically an object, not an integer variable. Okay, but this is deprecated. Okay, that means this is used to be there in JDK 8 and earlier, but after the JDK 9 version, this considered as a deprecated code. So what do you mean by deprecated code? Deprecated code means it's older. That means it may not support in the future version. So that means it's better if a certain type of functionality is when be removed and will not support in a future version. That that part will consider as a deprecated code. So let's look into this. Okay, so first way of boxing an integer value using it with the respective instance of a wrapper class is this, the line number 9, where integer, I have highlighted it, integer boxed integer value. This is called as manual boxing. It can be preferred, but it is unnecessary. We will see a much easier way out of here as well. Now this is another way, that is the deprecated code. There we're trying to create an instance of integer wrapper class using the new keyword, the way we typically do in our all the classes that we have seen till now, right? But if you hover here in the red over line, so you can I hope you can see here it is saying that integer int is deprecated since version 9 and mark for removal. So this is called a deprecated. It will still compile, but maybe in later version it may not compile. Okay, now third way also, uh, now this is a third way, uh, need. Okay, this is also, this is unboxing, I will come to that part. Okay, now we have seen two types of boxing, that if I can't pass a value directly to the integer variable, I am using a integer wrapper class, right? So this is, so how can I fix this if if I can't use these two methods, line number 9 and 10? How can I and it's not recommended, so what should I do? So what they say is I can use directly simply integer wrapper class is instance and I will pass it this. So this is called as automatic boxing. Automatic boxing. So here I am trying to pass 15, which is a int value, integer primitive data value, and an auto boxed is a basically an object. Okay, object or instance of integer wrapper class. So I hope I'm not making you confused about the integer aspect. So if I'm writing integer with respect to I capital, it is an integer class. Okay, int is not equal to integer, so that is I want to be make sure of this. Okay, int is not equal to integer. Okay, 15 if you just pass, it's an integer primitive value which I'm passing to the integer class AutoBoxed. Okay, okay, so this is called automatic boxing. Now this is, that means given an integer value, I'm trying to make it convert to a different kind of to its wrapper class instance using the boxing method, which Java takes care of it. Now this is something called as unboxing. Okay, now unboxing is, now I have the value, now I have done this thing. Now my box integer have the value of 15, the object has this value of 15, but now I want, now since integer is not equal to int, so what I will do, I want to revert back. So I don't want to keep the value here, I want to store again in the int. So if I want to get this value, I can use the process called as unboxing. Okay, so using int value function of the box object of box integer, I can take it and store it in an unboxed int. So if I do this and if I print this, the value will be same. So let me print it out also. Okay, so if I just run this code, I will do one more thing also. I will try to also show what box int look like. Taking some time. So it is showing the unboxing part. Okay, which I am getting from line number 11. Okay, we have much simpler version of this also, so we will look into it. I will run this again to show how the object will look like. Okay, so here also, even though it's an object, I'm still getting the value as 15. So it is showing me directly the value, nothing else, but this value or this object can also call for certain functionality, that is like int value. Okay, so it has its own functionality through which I can get it. So the values, even though it's same, but the nature of this boxing is different from the integer value, integer variable called unboxed int. Okay. Okay, so this is called unboxing, and this is called as manual unboxing, where you pass you of using the object dot int value. I'm extracting the value present in the box integer. Okay, so automatic unboxing, basically, if you have to do so, to do this, I just need to okay. Now if I do this, so this I do automatic boxing, sorry, automatic boxing. Boxing I did line number 17, that is integer autobox 15, and then I'm doing an automatic unboxing by creating an integer variable called auto unboxed, and then I'm just passing on the value, so it will work it out. So let's run this line number 22 first to see how how it will show. So let me comment few lines to show you that how the auto box, which is an integer value, integer wrapper class object, will look like. So let me run this, and then we will also see that the auto unbox variable of int, if I run the same command of get class name dot get name, how it will look like. So it tells about that auto box. If I use this command autobox dot get class dot get name, which which gives me the class of the object, it tells me the class of the object that I'm using. So it says that java lang dot integer, so it's a wrapper class. But if I do it for auto unbox get class also, let me run this. So it will give me an error called int cannot be dereferenced. What do we mean by it, this error? Because auto unbox is a integer variable. Okay, and since it's a variable, integer is a special keyword here. I can't call a method of get class because it's a primitive type. Okay, so this is not an object, this is an integer variable, and this variable is very different from auto box that we have got it from the integer wrapper class. Okay, so that's the difference that I want to highlight here. Okay, similarly, if you want to now if you want to, let's create, let's so let's create a if we have a function, let's say if I can do auto boxing and moxing with respect to functions also. Okay, so here what we have done is using get literal double primitive. It's a function which will pass a return a double value, and this double value will be stored in a double wrapper class object called result box. So this get literal double primitive is basically this line number 54 to 56, we're just returning a double value. Okay, it's returning a double value. Okay, and then we are just storing that into a object called result box. So this is a automatic boxing we are having, and then using get double object also, which returns uh, a, which returns the object of the wrapper class of double. So let's here see here. So here private static double, so you can see the return type is wrapper class, and here we are passing the double dot value of, and the value double value we are passing out here, and then we're trying to store in a double keyword, that is a variable here, and here the unboxing is happening. So these are different way of looking at the value. Now why these concepts are important late, it is important because at the later stages, when you start coding with the linked list arrays and list and all that, this type of information you need it. So if you want to deal with the deal with the primitive data types. Okay, so you can access it directly, indirectly using functions. All this thing can be possible. Similarly, you can create an array also, and so if I create a wrapper of integer wrapper class, I can create an array of name wrapper array with the integer 5, and if the and the first in the first variable I can store an integer value. Okay, and rest of them will be null because objects are there, so this object will not be 0, it will be null. And if I print out these values, let me run this code. So instead of here integer array, we can deal with list, array list also. So if you have any question with respect to auto boxing, unboxing, please let me know. Okay, now see this. So we printed out the first that how wrapper arrays look like. So the first value was integer value that we have passed in. So this happened here. The auto boxing has happened. That is taken an integer primitive value and store it in a wrapper class object of integer wrapper class object. Okay, and the rest of the objects are here as null because we have defined any value, and the class of this object, that is 50 here, it's not an integer. The primitive value we're talking about, it's an object of a class called integer wrapper class. Okay, so that is the thing. Same goes for others as well. I think the others are also same kind of thing with respect to it. So again, I'm just trying to show here. So there is a function called getList that we are passing here, and so getList is a function. So here we are trying to show the use case of how to use an array list with respect to it. So I'm passing, so in the main function, getList is there, and I'm passing 1 2 3 4 5, which is an integer value, and I want a list out of it, so array list out of it. So how I'm passing, so my output will be array list and integer as a wrapper class. Okay, and this is the function name, and this I'm passing the variable argument. So how can I pass variable argument without specifying it? Using these three dots. So we have in 2-3 sessions ago we have seen that how these three dots help us to write variable arguments without specify the explicitly. Okay, so using this variable arguments, I can pass any amount of arguments if I want. Okay, then I created an array list object here, name as a list, and I'm keep on passing the integer value I. So I'm traversing through this variable argument of int type, and I'm adding to this list. So here the automatic boxing is happening, and then I'm returning this a list, which is an array list integer, and then I'm printing out this a list as well. So using this var output, so var will automatically identify, the compiler will automatically identify the type of the the name of the variable, that is our list. So here you can see that, I hope you can see, it is basically an array list of name our list, which we are returning from the get list, and then we are printing it out, and it will work pretty much fine. Okay, so this is a few concept of boxing, that is auto boxing and unboxing aspect into this here is, and how you can use, if you want to pass on any primitive values to the Java collection where it can't access it, how you can, with the help of boxing unboxing, you can try it out. Okay, so this is one concept that I want to cover today. This is a small concept about it. So if you have any question in this about this auto boxing and unboxing, please let me know. So let me see. So yes, so question is what is the need to use wrapper class instead of normal int? So the answer is that here if I create a linked list instead of wrapper class, if I just pass just normal primitive data type, it will not compile. So by rule, by definition of the this is a part of Java collection. So many of the Java collection which include list, queue and stack, if you want to use such kind of values, and there you can't directly pass on this integer value. So how you can do it? Pass this value using the boxing techniques, where you have to use the wrapper class. So that is the main concept about it. Any other questions with respect to this? You can unmute yourself at that point of time also, and then let me know. Okay, now let's look at the second concept in this case, which is uh, the enum type. So let me go here. Okay, so enum type is very much highly used in a typical Java application, any application. Okay, so it's basically a completely um, it's a order list, and so it's a kind of constant that values that or list of items that we need in a collection. Okay, so enum is like that. Okay, so it's basically a special data type, and it can be considered as one of the classes as well by default. Okay, so it's basically a int array. Okay, here elements are known, explicitly known, and they can't be changed. And when you're referring, you don't refer it using 0 1 index value, we refer them by their constant name itself. Okay, so that's the value. We will see more about it. So this is how a typical enum has been defined. So using public, instead of class you will use enum, and you pass the name of the enum, and then you pass the all the values with respect to it. Okay, so here order is pretty much important. I can't change any of the orders, I can't remove anything, I can't add anything in this case. So once it is created, it is considered as a constant value, you can't change it. Okay, um, and the obviously index is start from 0 to 1 kind of thing. Okay, so it is order, and you can, it's a constant in which you are declaring. So in this case, Sunday is considered the first day of the week, and Saturday considered as the last day of the week. Okay, now maybe for now you might not use it or might not see it, but there are many examples will come in your application where you need a certain values in ordered way. So for example, months in a year, or directions in a compass, or set of size of your shirts and pant, right? So these are very ordered, these are specific values are there. And one other thing that you might observe by now, that for an enum everything has to be written in capital, and if you want to add two or more words into this, you separate it with the underscore. Okay, so the values in an enum has to be capitals by convention. You will not get any compilation, but it's a convention here. So everything has to be capital, followed by, if you want to separate two words, separate by underscore. Okay, it helps us to make our code more readable. Okay, and enum is basically a special type of class. Okay, and which supports, with help us to support the constant in this case. So let's look into this. So if you want to create an enum, so what you have to do is, you'll go to src, new class, Java class, and let's say I'm just writing test in this case, and you can see in the screen there's an option called enum. So if I just click on this and press enter, so that's how it will enum will be created with the test.java itself. It will consider Java file, but I will not having a class into this. Okay, I will not have any class into this, and I can store any value into this. So for example, I have already written here, so it's public enum day of the week. Okay, so I'm just passing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, this is how a simple enum is there, nothing else has been added. Okay, so if you want to access this, so we'll write a code in main.java. So Okay, so if you want to access any value of the enum, okay, you can, since it's a special type of class as well, you can create the object of that enum, the day of the week, weekday. And since you don't have to use new keyword here, because you don't have to, you're not instantiating anything here, you don't have a constructor. So directly what you will do is you will use day of the week dot Tuesday, directly just pass on the value constant. Okay, so that's how you can do it. And you can just print out it. So if I just run this code, so if I have to pass on any value, I can also directly, instead of creating this object of weekday, I can directly pass on the enum value by the name of the enum dot and the any value. Since these values are constant, I can directly pass it on. And again, you have seen this, it is public by default. Okay, so it will show print of that it is the value, right? Now another thing that you can, if you want to know the position of a particular uh, particular value of a enum, you use the function called ordinal. Okay, and if you want to know the name of a particular enum, you use the function called name. Okay, so once we have created the object of weekday, okay, so the weekday has been assigned for Tuesday value, right? So weekday dot name, it using name function will get the Tuesday, and the ordinal will tell us the position of that. So the name is Tuesday and the ordinal value is 2. Okay, so basically a third day, so it start from 0, 1 and 2. Okay, 0 to 6, like that. So that's how the enum works here. Now if you want to play more little bit into this, so let me try show you something. Okay, yeah. So we have written a function called get random day. Okay, using this function we're getting any day at the random from 0 to 6, and from this we are printing it out the weekday name and from the enum and its position from that, and specifically we're searching, and if specifically the day is Friday, just printing out a statement. Okay, so that is one of the way of dealing with it. So this random day is simple as a function, so it is returning the value of day of the week, which is the enum type. Okay, and here you be using a random function. This random function is coming from java.util.random. Okay, and then we are passing, we want any number between 0 and 7. So 7 is not included here, so 0 and 7. From that we'll get a random integer. So whenever we call this function, it will create one random integer. From that, using day of week values, for it will extract all the values and will store in all day. Now this is a type of var, and this var is basically enum. Okay, so using this enum and the random integer, we are passing, like how we pass for array value, for the enum value also, whatever the integer value comes, we'll return it from the day of the week and then print it out, and print it out here. And if it is Friday, we'll just we are just printing out a special message out of it. So if I run this code also, okay, so the value starts from here, I'm highlighting right now. So it is actually taking random value using the random function, and then it is printing out its value and the ordinal value here. Okay, and whenever it's Friday is coming, it's just saying they found a Friday. Okay, all this is fine. And another thing that we can try it out here is we have written a switch function here. So given a random day, yes, yes, yeah, yeah, please.
Random function, how it's giving 0 to 7, one number.
It is coming from the
Random function, how it
Yeah, using the,
It's giving 0 to 7 some number.
yeah, so
There
it's
should
a,
be some multiplication.
no multiple, it's a direct function is there. It's a direct function. So these are class called random.
What number it is?
I think, okay, I'm sorry, I think your voice is breaking. Can you repeat it again? Hello.
Yes, how much? What can be the number? Is the number from 0 to 1,
If it is 0
right?
to 1, okay, 0 to
The
1,
random function, it gives a value 0.5 like that. It gives a number
uh-huh,
from 0 to 1.
mm-hmm.
Uh,
So for
so what
that,
is the output of the random function? What's the output?
so like that depends on the
Output of
function.
random functions.
So if I take next double and if I have put a bound of 0 to 1 or something like that, I need to check exact function on respective to it. If I put it bound, so it will give me a double value out of it. Okay, so it depends on the random object which I am creating right now and using the next double. So it is create a double output and the range is between 0 to 1. And if you want 0 point, assuming that it output 0.5,
Okay.
you can store in a variable called random integer, and then you can print it out or use for any other purposes. Is it, I'm able to make it, is it clear or you have some still left out?
Uh, the output of random
Yeah, output of,
function.
yeah, output for random
Hello.
function. Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. Sir. Thank you.
Okay, like I'm still not clear that whether
It gives
you're
a
get,
value from 0 to 1. It
yeah,
can be a decimal value, right? Or it gives any number 2,
y-
3, 4, 5.
yeah, it is decimal value, so you can take a double value, right? Double variable to store the value. You can't take an integer value for this, right? So you have to take a function called next double.
Suppose if it is zero point 0.5, what will be the double value?
You want a value between 0 and 0.5, or you want to output as 0.5.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, I still didn't get your part. So I'm assuming your question is that if I want a value between 0 and 1,
No, I really don't know what is the output of random functions.
random function will see, it's
I
not the
will simply
see, random is a
write
function.
the random function.
So if I this is a random class, okay, new dot random, I'm highlighting on my screen. It's a random class. In that, I'm invoking a function called next double. So this next double,
So
sorry, your voice is breaking. I can't hear you.
output of a random
So that's what I'm saying. No, it's out.
function,
Hmm.
which you're calling,
Hmm. I'm
is
sorry.
what is the output
So that's what I'm telling you,
of a
right?
random function?
See, random is a class. From that, what is the background is I don't know, but if I call a next double function, it will output me a random
Yeah.
double value. Double value. Similarly,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Here you have a problem. Net
yeah, I think,
connection problem.
yeah. So if I doing a random integer nested function, so this next int,
Internet problems.
yeah, it's fine. Um, if I doing a random next int function, it is giving me a random integer value. This nexted function of the random class, it is giving me the random
Okay,
integer
sir.
value, and I am storing that in random integer.
No problem, sir. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah. So one of the another way of using enums using switch cases also is, so we have defined,
Uh,
so getting a random a number from the and storing in the weekday, Okay, we are passing on this value of switch day of the week. It's a function that we are writing a switch day of the week as a function, as a public static. Okay, we are not returning anything. And then
Thank you.
so now when we are passing out this value day of the weekday, now I'm so once I pass this using weekday dot ordinal function, I'm passing it as like storing the data from 1 to 7 as a 1 to 7 days, not 0 to 6. Okay, and I'm passing this weekday value. So I'm just for this, in this switch cases, I can directly using the enum value. If it is Wednesday or Saturday, I'm printing as different kind of statements of using Wednesday is a day or Saturday is a day. Otherwise, I'm using default value. I'm printing out what the day it is using the lower key. So so in this case, what is happening is weekday name. So I'm extracting the name. I'm extracting using caret. I'm extracting the first letter word. Okay. Then again, I'm asking weekday dot name dot substring, where I'm from the second character to the remaining one. I'm making that as lowercase, and then adding day is that day. So for example, this default system value, if I have mon as a enum value, so the first weekday dot name dot caret, what it is doing is it is extracting m first, then it is extracting the second is substring function, it is extracting on, and which is converting into small on. Okay, and it is concatenating, so it will become mon small, and then I'm adding day is day, so Monday I'm concatenating day in the month is day. So this is how it is printing out. So it is, I'm just make it little confusing here, but I want to show that with the enum also you can use if for loop, switch cases, and multiple strings manipulation technique in the same function in the same type. So if I run this code also, let me run this, and okay, uh, obviously I've made mistake here. I've made some mistake here, but still it's fine. So it is showing Sunday is a day 1, day 2, kind of like that. Okay, so it is, since the random integer I put to bound 1, it is showing only 0 value, and the 0 value is Sunday, so that's how it is showing. Okay, now one more aspect that I want you to show about enum here is that enum is not only for storing the values, constant values. You can also write a function in this because it's a special type of class. So what we have done, there's a public enum topping, the topping we have given, and this is the kind of values that we have stored here: mustard, pickle, lemon, and tomato. These are the constant values that we are having. Now if you want to add any extra function here or any other content apart from the enum, we have to that stop it using the semicolon. Okay, and then earlier if you have seen day of the week, we haven't used any semicolon here. Okay, so but in topping, but since we are having functions here, so here in enum we can have function that is here adding a get price, and we are returning switch cases that for pickle and mustard we are putting certain price, and for others it is 0. So if I run this code also, um, so if I run this part of the code, just let me comment few things. So topping, using the topping values, I'm extracting one value at a time, and then I'm printing it their name as well as its price. Okay, so if I run this, it will also run. So so what here is happening is enum can not only store a constant value, but it can store also a kind of functions uh, here using which you can extract your relevant values. Okay, so these are the relevant these are the enum values that we are having and its respective prices related to it. Okay, so this is a small aspect of enum that we have covered, and boxing and auto boxing aspect in this case. Let me see any other thing. Okay, no. So it's come down to generalization,
Hello,
but
hello, sir.
yeah.
Sir, the term enum which you had explained now,
Hmm.
sir, it is same as the term tuple used in Python.
Uh, Tuple use in Python. Yes, you can't change the tuple also, but I think tuple is kind of pair kind of thing. I am not,
Yes,
but it's pair, right? But tuple is a kind of pairing thing. But here, yeah. But what you're saying is correct that you can't change anything in the tuples also. The order is same and all like that. But yes, that is true. But the format is different. But yeah,
okay, sir.
what you're saying is correct in this case. But I need to still check the tuple, that how it exactly formulate. If I remember it, tuple is more like a pairing system kind of thing. So
Yes, sir. It contains a key value pair.
key value pair, right? Yeah,
Yes, sir.
so it is a kind of on top of the dictionary that is happening, but enum is not like that. Enum has it's more into object oriented aspect, that because you can have functions also a tuple cannot have. A tuple is just for storing the values, but enum can not only store the values, it can also um, ask for it can also have functionality of its own. So this is something tuple might not have it.
So we can say that enum has the functionality of the tuples.
Yeah, but I would want you to not relate it as easy, not try to connect it as seamlessly, because uh, double habits property wise, yes, it matches lot of things from the enum aspect, but enum is built from the perspective of a class, but tuple is considered from the perspective of an array or list in the Python. So that difference is there. So that
Okay,
aspect
sir.
that you have to keep that in mind. Okay, so let me see what's the time. It's okay, 6:49. So I think I will start with the abstract class. Let's discuss the abstraction first few minutes, followed by 7, and then we will take a short break at that point of time. Okay, so before going to abstract classes or interfaces, if you have any question about AutoBoxing or Enum, please let me know. Please unmute yourself, or please let me know in the chat. Let me see if you have any other question. No, if you have any other question, please let me know. And the course that I'm using right now, I've already posted the link in the chat. So if someone hasn't received those code, they can use. Someone please post that link again. Okay. So before going to abstract classes and to show that how it works and all that, let's look from the perspective in a more generalized way. There's something called as abstraction and generalization. Okay, so what abstraction is help us to do is basically this. Abstractions help us to do a kind of generalization. Okay, that means so when we are try to write a code. Okay, so we have to see that what aspect of it we are duplicating it using in terms of inheritance, or what kind of behavior or fields that we might be using again and again. So if a certain aspect of behavior is coming in multiple classes, can I move it to some in much higher level or not? Okay, so why this is important? Because this will help us to make the code extensible. That means I need a framework where I can change the functionality of the code without changing the code much in other aspect. Okay, I can add new functions without changing the code much. So how can I do that? So here the abstraction and generalization part will come into picture. Okay, start with the generalization. It is come when you're trying to build an application. So you will try to have some modules in your application, and you try to find identify what features you want and what kind of behavior your objects should have, right? So once you define that, then you should see that the objects that you're defining, whether something in those objects have something in common, some functionalities or some fields common is there or not. If it is there, then what we'll try to do is we'll create a class hierarchy where the topmost class is the general class in this aspect. Okay, which considers a building block. Okay, and that building blocks, now you can consider that I will store the commonality in that class, and then I will inherit it further in my remaining classes. Okay, so here this part of generalization is coming through abstraction part. Okay, so if I can just define a set of characteristic behavior with, either I can define it with the code, or just I have a function or method out of it. Okay, so so given an example, we take a lot of time the same example, right? We have a abstract concept of animal. Okay, but let's say if you want to build some class related to octopus, dog and penguin, okay, we can say that they are animal, but how can we say that they're animal? Because they might make some noise or they can move, right? So these are some commonalities between these three classes are there. And if I want to take it out, and I, I can take this out and I can keep it as an animal abstract concept, okay, using the abstract class, using which if I want to add new class, let's say in this case a horse, among these three classes, I can directly inherit the properties of the animal class here. Okay, an abstraction, specifically abstract class, actually deals with from the perspective of an inheritance only. Okay, so uh, so we will look at that aspect as well. So when we're creating class hierarchy here, uh, with the help of abstraction, it supposed two aspects, that is abstract classes and interfaces. So my aim is to cover both of this, but let's see what are the things we can cover in this part in 1 hour. Okay, and now there's apart from abstract classes, there's something called as abstract method also, where we just have a method signature and a return type, but no body. Okay, we're just specifying that this functionality exists, but if someone who's some class which is extending a abstract class, at that point of time they have to implement it, and implementation is a must in this case. Okay, so, and there's something called as concrete method, so we will talk about it also when we are building, we will see the code out of there. So apart from the public, private, static modifiers, some other modifiers that we can use in a particular abstract class is abstract, static, final, default, native, synchronize and all. We will mostly look at abstract keyword. Static, it's okay, I think we have seen already. Final and default, these two we will see a lot more. Okay, native synchronize, we are not right now going to it, but we will try to see that maybe if we try to reach to a multi-threaded aspect of the Java, at that point of we will see. Okay, so how do we create abstract class? So instead of this I will just go to the code directly. Okay, now if you want to create an abstract class, okay, so you have to write public abstract class here. So it's just a simple normal class that you will creating a public class, but here you just have to write abstract keyword here. So if you just write abstract keyword here, sorry, my bad, if you just write abstract keyword here, it will convert to the abstract class. Now a function can have its fields, like similar to the any class we are having in private protected type. Okay, it will have its own constructor as well. Okay, but here the difference that what we here is we have, this is something called as abstract method, that is abstract void move or abstract void make noise. Okay, so these are the abstract method. I'm declaring them, but I don't have a body of it. Okay, and another thing that is one that we have to use abstract keyword obviously to make it explicit that it's abstract method, but by default it is public. So if I just write private here, you can see the red line is coming, and it is saying that illegal combination modifier abstract and private. So another aspect of abstract method is abstract methods are always public. Okay, so that is one thing I want to make sure of here. Abstract methods are public because you have to inherit them and you have to write certain code into them. Abstract code is something you have to write. If some class is inheriting this abstract class, at that point of time it has to write some code into this. Okay, for that reason only by default the public is there. And here also I don't need to write public also. By default, if a keyword abstract is there, the Java compiler automatically will identify that okay, I should assign public modifier into this. Okay, so that is one thing. So if I just write public or public abstract, this is quite same to this aspect. Now this is something called concrete method. Now concrete method is the one where we are defining a body here. Now a body can be like this, or suppose if I just remove abstract keyword for make noise, or if I just define an empty body, okay, this is also a concrete method in this aspect. So this will now become a concrete method. I just need to define a body, be it empty body, it is fine, it can be, and I can make it private also. Let me check here. So yes, this concrete method can also become private in this aspect. So let me revert back to changes. Abstract, but abstract method can't have its own body in abstract class. You can only have its body when you're inheriting this class. Okay, and this is a kind of public string get explicit. It is a concrete method. So that is a type of concrete method we are talking about. Okay, now let's go to main.java, and let me comment out few things here. Okay, now if I try to create, now I have this abstract class called animal, right? Now if I try to create an object with the type animal, size and weight, which I have this fields already initiated with me with new, you can see the red line is coming already. So but if I try to run this code, let's see what kind of output or error message will it give. Okay, so the thing that is saying animal is abstract and cannot be initiated. So what does it mean? Be it abstract class or interface, we cannot create an object out of it. Okay, so that is the thing. That's why this line is giving error for us. Okay, so now how should we use the abstract class? Now for this, I think we'll start off that how we can use this abstract class by looking into a few aspects into this. But let's take a 5 minutes break. It's already 1 hour for you people. So it's already 7. Let me see if you have any question till now, and then we will take a break, 5 minutes break. So what is the okay, someone has raised her hand. Yeah, you can unmute yourself and you can tell me. Is it meant to summary program in the assignment? I guess
Sir,
so.
I have a question, sir.
Yes.
Sir, is it mandatory for submit the programming in assignments?
I think you will score based on your assignment, and that score will be used for your certification if you're taking the certification. So I think yes, answer is yes in that case.
Sir, programming scores are considered in the assignment score?
I think so. I'm not aware of those specific because I'm not from that TA team. But I believe if they're giving, then it's good, right? Because then what's the point of learning Java if you can't code it?
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay. So what we'll do is it's 7:01 right now. Let's come back at 7:06, and then we will start again the session. Okay. So we'll take a break. Code link, I'm just passing it again here.
Sir,
Yes,
sir, in the final exam, coding will be there, sir.
I believe so. Yes, yes, coding will be there. Okay, so I just passed the this thing Google Drive link where I have posted the codes that I'm using today. So I just say the session will start at 7:06. Yeah, welcome back. We'll continue the session. If you have any other question with respect to the topics that we're discussing or anything else, please unmute yourself at that point of time and let me know the queries. Okay, so let's start again with the abstract classes in this aspect. Uh, so I hope you can see my screen now. Okay, so till now what we have seen is we have a abstract class called animal, we have the fields, we have the constructor also, we have the abstract methods, okay, and something called as concrete method as well, where you have a body. Concrete method is basically the one with the body, okay, but still we can't create an object out of it, that we have seen earlier, right? And one more thing is abstract method can only be created in interfaces and abstract class. So abstract methods are allowed only in um, abstract classes and methods. Okay, so nowhere else it is allowed. You can't create the abstract method in a normal class. You will get an error. Okay, so now what should we do? So if we have the class abstract class ready, so how can we access it? So basically, the way to access here is we have to extend it. So we created another class called dog.java. Okay, here we are extending the animal in this case. So now animal is basically an abstract class here. Now here we are not defining any field, but we are using the constructor here, uh, uh, dog, from which we can use calling the constructor of an animal class. Okay, also now if another thing that you will get here is, let me comment few things here to let you know. If I sorry, yeah, yeah, so if I just write a constructor and extend it, it will give me some error in the red line. Okay, so if I just hover around it, it tells that class dog must either be declared abstract or implement abstract method move in animal. Okay, so what does it means is, if I have a class which is not abstract class and I'm extending an animal, in this case I have to implement the abstract methods. So it is compulsion for me to write the methods for move and make noises. The IntelliJ is telling me automatically for that, and if I implement, so there's an option called implement methods there. So if I click on implement methods, though, so what the both the abstract method that I'm seeing here, move and make noise function, it is asking and I can create a method out of it. So since I already done that, I'm not selecting that option. But if you have a class which extending an abstract class, you have to write its abstract methods definition here. That is by rule. Okay, another thing what you have observed here is, um, it may not ask me for a concrete method, but it will ask me to write the abstract method for sure. Okay, I can override it, um, because the principle is inheritance here, obviously. But uh, if I don't want, if I remove the concrete class, it is still fine. But for abstract class like move or make noise, I have to specify it out loud. Okay, so for just the function that we wrote for the make noise here is, if the type is wolf, we are printing a specific type of sound, and if a type otherwise, that we are otherwise else we are printing some other noise. Okay, and in this moving part, if the speed we are passing as slow, so we are telling the type of that particular object which we are passing out, and we are telling it is walking. So if the speed is not slow, but whatever that remaining will be, we are passing out that it is running. Okay, the slow is slow or fast in this case. So now we are overridden the abstract class methods here, that is move and make noises. We have called the constructor also, which invoke the constructor of animal class. So now let's create it. So I have created a in main function I have created a dog object. I'm passing the values, that is the type, the size and the weight. Now this line, this new object will invoke this public constructor, in which the super function will again invoke the constructor of the animal, which is this. Okay, now because of this, I can um, I can do dog.makeNoise, which is the class that we have. It is the abstract class in animal, but in dog we have a full-fledged method because we have defined it. It's a concrete method now. So we have defined the method body. So if I just run this code, so let's see what's the output will be. So it will show that I'm making certain noise. Okay, Now if I don't want to call the same function make noises or move, so what I have done here is that I've called a function called do animal stuff, okay, with a generic function, and I'm passing the value on it, the object value. So this value will take an animal object, okay. So even though I have passed the dog value, it's basically an animal object, because if you go with the concept of inheritance, animal is a super class. In this case, even though it's abstract class, it can take the value of dog, because dog has inherited that. So it will take that, and animal, it will call the function called make noises and move. But remember that this animal is basically a dog object at the end of the day, so it will call only this function that we have defined here in the dog class, not in the abstract class. Abstract class we haven't defined anything, but the reference here we might give an animal even though the type is dog, okay. So I hope that the reference part of a object, it's getting clear to you slowly with respect to it. So again, so I have passed a dog variable, but here I'm taking it as an animal object, okay. So a dog object, I pass it as an animal object here, and I'm calling this particular functions. And if I run this, it will print out the respective printf statement from the move function and the make noise function. Okay, so that part is done. So that means given an abstract class, I can inherit the abstract class, and I have to define the body of abstract method, and everything will work fine for me. Okay, so everything is fine. Now let's do something. Let's create a array list of animals. Okay, so how can I create an array list of animals? So I have to create few classes which can inherit the animal, and from there I can keep on adding the value. So that's the abstraction value is here. So let's say, because animal now, so I can add animals dot dog. Dog is an object of the class called dog, but since it's inherited from the animal, it will accept it, okay. So likewise I have added one more dog of German Shepherd, and specifying its size and weight, right. So let's add fish also. So for fish, to add fish, I have to create a function called create a class called fish.java. So same concept, I've created a class called fish.java, which is extending an animal. It has its own public constructor, and then I'm I'm writing specifically the move and make noise function, which is the abstract methods from the animal class, and I'm writing that for a move function, if the speed is slow, that means it is lazily swimming, or otherwise it is darting frantically, that is it is swimming very fast, okay. And for make noise, if a specific type of fish is there, then I'm printing out specific type of noise, otherwise different type of noise. So that is different. So it is the so here, even though I have one abstract method, I'm inheriting them. The dog and the fish will have its own specific type of method with respect to it, and that's where the abstraction part come into picture, where that even though I'm calling an array list of type animal, I can add dogs as well as fish, okay. And then what I can do is I can call this animals, and okay, let me do like this. Yeah, so now I have added it, and then if I want to print out for each and every animal, be it dog or fish, I can print it out. So let me run this code. So now animal has been inherited by dog and fish. So even though I'm passing the animal object, the Java compiler can detect which uh, type of dog or fish we are talking about. So here's the output. So it is coming from here. So we have added 5 values, 3 dog type and 2 fish type. So we are telling its noise, what kind of noise it is take. We're telling the kind of object it is, be it dog, and what's the name of the dog, and we are telling based on the speed. So in this case, for every animal we are putting slow just for demonstration. That's why it is telling that the animal is walking, it's not running, or it is lazily swimming. Okay, so that one thing. So this is how you can do a kind of abstraction here. Okay, so let's complicate things little bit and let's see what else we can do. So another thing what we can do is I can extend an abstract class as well by creating another abstract class. So what we have done is we are creating a new abstract class called mammal, which is extending an animal. So here I can uh, extend I can create an abstract class which inherits another abstract class. Okay, so this possibility is also there, and then I'm I'm making a construct. Can you mute yourself? Okay, I just muted it. Okay, now um, if I now if I have to, I can override certain values, functions, but this is not a choice. Okay, there's no compulsion in abstract class. So if I'm extending abstract class, okay, I don't have to uh, write a um, write a full method for abstract method, full body of abstract method from the inherited abstract class. Okay, so there's no thing. So if I just comment this move function also, it will be work pretty much fine. So here you can see that I don't get any indication from IntelliJ that this might be an error here, but if I do with dog or fish I might get an error. But since it's an abstract class, there's no compulsion for me to write, but if I want to write I can write it down. Okay, so I have created another abstract class called mammal, which can take the same methods from the animal part, as well as on top of it, like same as principle of inheritance, I can add new function as well. So in this case I have added the new function called shed here. Okay, now to demonstrate it, let's do it. So we created another class called horse, which is extending a mammal in this case. Okay, now I've created the again a constructor which is taking type, size, and weight. Now let's do one thing. So here the beauty of here is uh, I can directly, since since this is an abstract method shared here, I have to make it explicit. Okay, also public noise also I can make it explicit here because the abstract method of the animal type. Okay, but I don't have to do for move because I have already made it as a concrete class. So this now became a concrete class in the abstract class, so I don't have to make it. To show you again, so let me comment this part now. Now this red line is coming to a public halls and saying that I have to declare the abstract or implement abstract methods, right? So if I click on implemented method, it is saying that I have to implement shed here and make noise. Why? Because these two are abstract methods which are present in their respective abstract classes. But for the move function that we have seen earlier, here in this case I have already defined a method body for it. I made it as a concrete method in this case in the abstract class called of the mammal. So it is not asking for it. Okay, so I will just comment this part out. Okay, okay, so now we can see that how it varies, that if I don't in abstract methods classes also I can make an abstract method to a concrete method if I'm extending it. Otherwise, if I don't extend it, so if I just comment this part also down, if I don't specify a void move method in this case, it will ask me here. So here you can see that again a red line came for the class called mammal. It's saying that I have to implement abstract method called move shrink. So if I look at this, I have to create a I have to implement this method move string of the from the animal type. Okay, so this is a difference that is present when you're dealing with the multiple abstract classes. Now what we are doing is we are adding now in the array list from the main function, we are again adding horse in this case with certain values, and here we are checking another thing. So apart from do animal stuff, we are checking that whether the animal is an instance of mammal or not. If it is a mammal, then I have to execute this shed here function. So if I do this also, let's run the code. So if since animal in this case horse is basically an instance of mammal because we have extended the mammal part here, so it is printing out that horse of particular name sheds in the spring, that the function that we have written here in this part. Okay, now what if I do, let me do one more thing. What I can do here is instead of animal in the dog class I will make it as mammal. So if I do this part, extend mammal, so if I do this, it is telling me that I have to implement a particular method also. Okay, so it is asking me that I have to implement shed here method. So I will just implement, I have written already, so let's uncomment them. So it is telling that if I implement that, so it will tell that the particular dog shed hair all the time. So if I run the code again in the main function, so in this output, apart from the fish which has not been extended with mammal, all the other, be it dog or in this case horse, it tells about that whether the dog sheds the hair all the time or not. It prints out that shed hair function automatically. Why? Because of this instance of function that we are trying out. It checks the check whether the current object is a part of that it's a superior class mammal class or not. It checks that, and based on that it calls the particular function here. Okay, so this is about the abstract classes overall in general. Okay, so let me see if I have any other point that I have to discuss here. If you have any other question with respect to this, please let me know in the chat about the abstract class. So let me see any other point I have to cover.
Sir,
Yes.
in the abstract class, can we define the function completely, sir, if we need?
Yes, that is called as concrete methods. So
Sir, I have another doubt, sir. So here we have the move function. I
yes,
will define concrete method even in the abstract class also.
yes.
I have to call the present class derived class function and again the abstract class function. How can I mix the two things, sir? Because the print statement will be a combination of the derived class and the abstract class. Is it possible, sir?
Okay, so I'm assuming that let's say a dog also have this move function. Okay,
Yes, sir.
now uh, you also want that
Animal has
animal
also.
animal class also has this move function written. So you want to invoke this part move function also
Continuation?
as well as
Yes, sir.
dog one. Okay, so
Yes, sir.
if you want to do that, you can do something called super dot move, and you have to pass the string value whatever the parameter value here. So using that super dot move function, wherever you want to place this code, this line of code, you can invoke it. So let's say I do something. Let me say that it is a part of a particular class, right? So system dot out dot println, and let me write at superclass, just for us to differentiate this thing. The print is coming from the superclass function.
Okay,
Okay,
sir.
so if I run this code from here, so I'm added already, right? So I'm invoking the move function also. So let me run this. Okay, now you can see is first when the dog instance was been printed, okay, it print the make noise function which was there earlier in the do animal stuff. Then it prints the superclass and tells about the whatever the moving function is there, and then the one I'm highlighting right now and the output, this is coming from the superclass. In this case, mammal or animal. I think it's an animal right now, a mammal right now. But you can understand that I have extended the same function in the abstract class as well, and using this super dot move or whatever the function name, you can access that particular superior class function, and from that you can access it, your whatever the methods or variable names, anything out of it. So you have to use the super keyword in this case.
Sir, can we write the main function in the doc class itself instead of creating the third class where we can write the main function? Can we write a main function in the doc class itself if
Yeah,
we have only the animal and doc class?
yes, you can do that. So just for the explanation for me to keep the code clean, there's no this thing that I can't write a main function here. So let's say it's a public class, right? Eventually, so I can just write public static void main. It will work pretty much fine, and I from here I can try to access the animal class also in this case. So that is fine. It's just that main.java I'm keeping separate because I have too many files. It's just from my sake of understanding it. But what you're saying is correct, typically fine. Am I understand your question correct in this case?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Any other question? Okay. So in that case, let's move to interfaces now. Let's see. If you have any other question with respect to abstract class, please let me know in the chat, or you can unmute yourself as well. Uh, okay. Uh, okay, let me see any other concept that I have to see of. Okay, so I can here tell that an abstract class also extend an abstract class. An abstract class can also extend a normal class as well. So that is one more thing that it can do that. Abstract method with simple no body, only declaration. Um, okay. What if the animal are abstract? Okay, so just one more thing that so let's say we have this diagram. So since we abstraction we have seen from the perspective of inheritance already, right? So let's see here. So we have a animal function class. It has its type, size and weight, and it has its own function here. Okay, and dog, which is inheriting from the animal class, and it has its own function on top of it, whatever present here in the animal class. So if it is an inheritance example, okay, so what I have to do here, what I can do is here I have to define, first of all I have to define it. I can't keep it as abstract. Okay, so I have to define its body of move and make noise. Okay, I can override this behavior, okay, using the same thing, but I have to keep the signature same, but the body of the method might be changing. Okay, but I have to do overriding aspect into this. But if it is an abstract class, let's say it's an animal is an abstract class in this case, the way that we have seen as of now, and the dog in this case is a normal concrete class. it's a normal, so not concrete, yeah, it's a normal class in this case. So here I don't need to specify the code here, so it makes my writing much lesser here. So it might make my code little more small, okay, because I don't have to specify it outrightly. And if I don't have to specify outrightly, I can write the same codes here, because it's a part of it, it's a behavior that I'm trying to extract from the animal. So it just so here abstract class is helping us to generalize it, as well as also help us to reduce to write small reduce the amount of code that we are writing specifically. Okay, so that is one aspect to it. So abstract class doesn't have to implement abstract method. This is already we have seen. Why use abstract class? So basically abstract class is usually used in this space when you're designing an application, when you're deciding that what kind of features you want to have, what kind of modules you want to keep, at that point of what kind of classes you will have. So when you're deciding all those stuff, that point of time you want to discuss that what kind of abstraction I need to bring into picture. So at that point of time it is needed in most of the cases. Otherwise it is most of the people, instead of abstract class, use interfaces. There's something called abstract challenge. I'm not going over it right now, but you can see this. I will put this PDF in the Google Drive as well, and we will then you can check the code as well if once you see that challenge. Okay, let's talk about abstract interfaces first. Okay, so we see that in abstract classes we required subclasses to implement the abstract methods. Sorry, yeah. So I need an abstract class, I need to create an abstract method, right? And I have to implement them when I'm inheriting them. Without if I inherit an abstract class, if I'm not implementing the function, I will get an error by default. Okay, interface is also like that, but it's a basically isn't it's not a class. Okay, it's just a kind of a specific type of code that you can write, where you can define your methods, define your fields, and then you can directly use it. But in that also there's a lot more restriction comes when it comes to interfaces. It is not as flexible as abstract class. Okay, so so what we have to do is same how you declare a class, same like public interface, the interface name and followed by its body. Okay, and usually the interface name should be used based on the behavior, set of behavior it is describing. Okay, so any behavior that you want to have in your objects, you want to put down pushed up to as an interface, and then it should be doing that. So in few lectures ago we have used something called as comparator, comparable dot natural order, and or reverse order, or iterator objects. So at that point of time we have seen some of the interfaces which we have not explicitly said that these are interfaces of functions, but at that point of time, wherever you find an function which is ending with the able, that means it is an interface by default given by the Java. Okay, so how to use an interface? We unlike abstract class, we have to extend it. Here we implement it. Okay, so it is implement is different from the extension. uh, so that is one thing you have to keep in mind. Also, like abstract class that we have seen for animal object, given a dog object also we can access it using animal object, because animal object is superior class of that. Interface also act as a reference type. So if I write if I have a class called bird and I'm implementing this flight animal interface, I can access it using this way, flight enable flyer. Okay, even though it's a bird object, but we are as a reference variable we are assigning into a flight enable variable name called flyer. Okay, so let's look at the code and then we will see. Also a class can use extend and implement the declaration, so I will talk about it more. So in short it says that in inheritance I can only extend one class at a time, but when it comes for interfaces I can implement as many interfaces as I want. There's no restriction into that. Okay, so that's the powerful feature that Java is providing through the interfaces in this case. So let's look at the code now. So I have the interfaces project and I have some few files already ready with me. So let's look at it one by one. So let's start from the basic. So I have a class called animal. It's an abstract class and I've created an abstract method. Okay, so this is abstract method that I have created and small abstract class called animal. Now let's look at the interfaces now. Now first interface that we have created called flight enable. Okay, it has certain variable values which are public static final, that is considered as a constant basically. Okay, uh, we have some abstract function as well. Okay, we have some concrete function, we will come down to it, but it is basically with the keyword called default. We'll talk about it later, but right now let's focus on three function that we are abstract function we are having, that is void takeoff, land and fly. These are things. Okay, and by default void fly, abstract void land and public abstract void takeoff, these the here the what you say, the modifiers that I'm mentioning public, by default it will take it. So like void fly is basically is also is public abstract void fly. Okay, so I don't have to mention it explicitly. Java compiler will automatically know that if I just writing any function declaring it, so it's by default it's a public abstract. So if I just remove abstract from void line also, it is perfectly fine, it will run. So just for the demonstration case, I'm keeping public abstract and an abstract just to show it. But if you hover around it, it will say that modifier abstract is redundant for interface method, because by default IntelliJ or the Java compiler know that I will automatically add it, so you don't have to make it explicit. Okay, so this is one flight enable interface, and there's another interface we name it as trackable, where the function called track is there. Okay, so we have seen one abstract class and two interfaces. In interfaces we have some fields which are constant, as well as three abstract methods. Now we have created another Java file name as bird, now which extend the animal class abstract class and implements the the interfaces of flight enable and trackable. Okay, now the concept that we have seen in abstract classes also here also applicable. That means I have to implement each and every abstract method that I have seen, whether in interfaces or in abstract class. So for example, move is it's coming from abstract class and call animal. Okay, this void takeoff is coming from interface uh, interface flight enabled. Land fly is also coming from flight enable. Okay, and track is coming from interface trackable. Okay, and if I comment all of these functions which I have written here, these 5 functions, so let me comment it. So you will get this red line over the here on the public thing, and it will say, if I hover around it, it says that class bud must be declare abstract or implement the abstract method. Okay, and if I look at the abstract methods, so it will tick off all the abstract methods that I'm looking for. The abstract method present in animal, flight enabled and trackable. So I have 5 methods. All the 5 methods it is asking me to implement automatically. So I can create it directly using IntelliJ, but I already written it, so I'm not going to do that. That's why you should keep trying when you're trying out with your Java code. You should use IDE extensively. Uh, but as you practice it, a lot of automatic features are there which is named as boilerplate codes, which the in this IDE is called IntelliJ or Eclipse can create it, and it makes your life much easier. Okay. Okay, coming back to topic. Now we have the abstract methods which we are extending from two interfaces and one abstract class, and we are just printing certain values, some statements here for move, like flapping, flap the wings for the bird. For void takeoff, we are extracting the object name. So whatever the object name we are creating, I'm getting the name of that class, and I'm printing it. I'm appending it with the is taking off not. Then land, whether it's landing or not, flying, the object is flying. And for track, it is like the object name plus the coordinate has been recorded. Okay, now let's go to the main function, and let's see that whether I can access this bird or not. So I created a new object in the main function, in the main function called so bird. So that bird new bird is there. Then I am adding reference variable from animal because I am extending it. So this is a reference variable. This is also flight enable flyer. This is also reference variable. This is also reference variable. Okay, so same object you can refer with three different ways with the help of interfaces object or the abstract class object. Now if I try to run this animal.move in this case, that is animal is a class in this case. So if I try to run this, so it's running right now, just wait for it to build. Okay, so this animal.move, it is working pretty much fine. It is showing flapping wings, which is coming from the bird.java move function itself. Okay, so it is working pretty much fine. Now let me try. So since we are saying it's a reference variable, right, so it should also work for flyer.move and track.move. This work should also work ideally. So I'm running the code again. But now it is saying that method move Java cannot find the symbol. So what is happening here? Even though using flight enable flyer, that is a interface, I can access the bird object, but I can't access the move method in this case. Okay, so the reason is simple. Even though I can refer the same objects here, I cannot uh, access the function which is written in some other interface or other classes. So in this case, the move function was initially defined in the animal class. Okay, in animal abstract class. So I can't only animal object can access it. Interfaces is not inherited the animal abstract class. That's why it can't access this move function, and that's why you're getting this cannot fight symbol. Okay, so let me do this, comment this out, and let me uncomment this. So what here I am trying to do is, now using this variables, reference variable of flight enable and trackable, I'm just trying to call only those functions which can be accessible by the particular interface object. So in this case, flyer has, that is the using the flight enable, I can have access to take off, fly and land. So I can access these three functions. I'm able to do that. And using trackable interface, I can only access the function called track. So if I just run this, it will work and it will store the respective system, the print statements present in these functions. Okay, so bird is taking off, the bird object, the even though it's a flyer object we're talking about, but initially it's a bird object, but the reference variable can only access to the methods defined by that particular interface in this case. So bird is taking off, bird is flying, bird coordinate recorded using the track function, and the bird is landing. But if I try to do this, if I try to access the land function, if I try to access the land function which is present in flight enable but not in trackable, you can see that my code already become the red and saying the cannot resolve method land in trackable. So it is trying to search the land function in the trackable interface. So these things we have to keep in mind, that even though you can reference the variable here, you can only access a specific type of functionalities which are defined by those interfaces or abstract classes. I hope this aspect is clear. If you have any doubt regarding this, please let me know. Okay.
Sir, one more time we want to see the program, sir.
Okay.
Show the class.
Class. Okay. So this bird output is there, right? Bird class is there. Okay. It is extending animal and implements flight enable and trackable. These are interfaces. These interfaces are written in animal.java. Okay. This is how the abstract class animal look like. This is the interface called trackable look like, where I'm just defining an abstract method called track. In this abstract method move. Okay. And this is how the flight animal looks like. That is double. That is the, I will come down to these values, and the abstract method will take off, land and fly. Okay. Now I can access all these 5 functions using bird because I'm extending and implementing them. But when it comes to main function, I can refer these, I can create a new bird object and I can use this reference variable of abstract class or interfaces, but I can only using, even though I have this animal, fly or track object of the respective interface or abstract class, I can only access only specific function from the bird object only. I can't access all the functions. That is the difference that I want to highlight here. Is it clear?
Okay, sir, I understood, but I don't know the advantage of calling like this one.
Okay, the call. See, here, like the call that what you the reason why you can call here is, see, it's come down to abstraction part, that I'm I have created an object, but I just want to access the flight enable interface only. So I might not use directly the object. I just use a reference variable here, and from here I can access certain functions. I don't have to
Okay,
use all the functions.
okay,
So it just
okay.
come down to security aspect, and as well as it also make your code much simpler, because with bird object I can access all the functions, right? So
Yes, sir.
just to restrict certain aspect here.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now apart from it, I have created a inline in flight method. Okay, where I will take I will pass any object which has implemented this flight enable interface, and from here I'll try to access, I will call the takeoff function, fly function, land function automatically rather than calling it all the time. So I'm just calling them using this object, and also it is looking for that whether the object that I'm passing here, um, whatever the project I'm passing here in flight, whether it is an instance of trackable record also or not, trackable interface or not. If it is there, then I can also access that particular track function from it. Okay, so whatever code we have written here just above this line 16 to 17, I just written in as a function for simplicity. So I just comment the above code here, and okay, now let's look into this. Now flyer is basically a reference variable for a bird object, and I'm passing it the in-flight function. So whatever earlier we have seen, the take out, fly, track and land, I've just passed it down as a particular function of private static void. I'm calling the same function here. Also, I'm also checking that if that particular object that I'm passing it, if it is also instance of a trackable interface, then I can call track function as well. Okay, so if I just run this, the output will come as similar. So the same output that we have seen earlier, it will come like this. Okay, now let's do something else. Let's create a new function, so a new class called jet. Now jet only implements flight enable and trackable. It doesn't implement animal aspect. Okay, because it is different from bird, because jet is a man-made thing, so it is different from bird. So we are not adding the animal aspect of move here, but we can, since both jet and bird fly, so similarly we created a jet object which is different from bird, but we can implement the same interfaces. So based on that, we have defined that jet and the same function called void, land, fly, track, and all those stuff. Transition will come later, but we have added these four functions from the interfaces. Okay, now if I want to call it, so I'm calling the in-flight function, and it will call for the new jet. So it will creating a new object of jet, and then it is calling the function there. Okay, and let's look, slow down for truck now, and then let's see. So if I just run this code again for the new jet object, which only implements the interfaces, not the abstract class, we can see that it is saying that jet is taking off, jet is flying, jet is coordinating, jet is landing, everything is fine. Okay, so this is all good. Let's do one more thing. So we have created another function called truck. Now truck can't fly, but it can be tracked, right? So we have implemented trackable function, and we just call the function called track in this case. So we created an object, and sorry, and using that object we're calling track. So it will work pretty much fine. Okay, now let's talk about something else. Let's talk about the fields uh, present in the interfaces. Okay, so for this I have to comment out this code in this case. Now interfaces can have fields. So in this case I have defined two field here, that is the values of miles to kilometer and kilometers to miles. Okay, these are constant values, these can't be changed. So the values that we are keeping here are not variables, they are constant. So they are by default public static final. Okay, and if I have to access these values using interfaces, what I can do is I can, the way I have done in the enum part, where I just call that particular enum name and dot the particular constant name. Similarly, this is the interface name dot the constant value name. So if I have to access a particular constant value, so I have to put interface name dot the constant variable name. Constant variable name, and I can do it. So what I have done is, what I have done here is, I have a double variable called kilometers traveled. I've just passed that 100 kilometers I have traveled. Now I am converting that to miles, so I'm doing kilometers traveled into flight enable, which is the interface name dot kilometers to miles. Since it's a constant, I can directly access this interface, and it will, whatever the expression value, it will store in mass travel, and then I'm just printing out that truck travel is particular kilometers or particular miles. So if I just run this code, okay, so it will show that truck travel 100 kilometers or particular number of miles that we have access, that we have calculated. So interfaces can have abstract methods or can have functions also, but I think we don't have time for that aspect to cover. But we can have concrete methods with the default values, with default keyword. Also we can also have the variables, but those variable has to be constant. Okay, and how we can define constant in Java using static final, and since it is constant, it has to be public as well, we can't keep it private. Okay. Okay. Then I can cover other parts as well, but I don't know whether we have sufficient time for it. Okay, let's try it out. So what we are doing is we're creating an array list of an interface called flight enable. So any object which has implemented this interface flight enable can be accessed in this array list. Okay. Now so we can, using fly.add, using .add function, we can add the bird, which a bird, because bird has implemented this function. Okay. And also what we are doing is we're creating a list object also. So I'm just trying to show that two different ways to storing a particular object, okay, in array list, either using array list or using a list reference variable. Okay, so we have flyers and butterflies. Okay, now if I try to run this code, that is trigger flies, fly flyers and land flyers. Okay, so what it will do is whatever the values present in array list, it will invoke these three functions. So what these three functions are: trigger flyers. So trigger flyers saying that um, it will just invoke this function, whatever present in the array list, it will invoke this function called takeoff. Fly fire function invoke the function called fly fire, flyer dot fly, and the land flyer will invoke the function called flyer dot land. Okay, now what we have done is, since as we have discussing from last 1 week and in today's session also, that array list or linked list cannot be have a primitive value. It can have only values, it can store only a particular type of value which are user defined, be it interfaces, abstract classes, type classes, object, string, whatever related to that, right? So we just want to here just to show a comparison here aspect, that if I create an interface object, okay, of type fly, I name it as flyer, but it's an array list. Now I'm adding bird, because bird is also bird implemented this flight enable, and if I call this functions, just let me run this. Okay, it will print it out that bird is taking or bird is flying, everything is fine, right? Now let's do one thing. So what we have done to show the differentiation to get more flexibility here. Okay, now let me for now just comment this part. Now instead of array list, if I put it as linked list, if I put it as change as linked list, and here also linked list. Okay, so both array list and linked list coming from the superclass of list, like they are inheriting the list class, or interface in this case, or collection in this case. From there it is extracting the functionalities. Now if I try to, from this flyer, if I try to call this functions flyers, you can see the red line is there. Why? The reason is simple, because if I pass the array list, I'm asking for array list, and but what it is expecting array list here, but I'm passing a linked list, right? So mismatch of the value. This is simple to understand, right? Now let's do one more thing here. Instead of linked list, I will try to access list. Okay, and I will, so I have created a list reference type called butterflies, and I'm creating an array list from that. And this butterfly, I'm calling this three functions again. Okay, again you can see that some issue is coming, that it is required type is array list but provided is list, right? So what, how can I solve it? I can solve it that I just remove it to list, and everything will work fine. Okay, so everything will work fine, and I think now that red line has been gone, right? So it is asking for list, and it is we are giving them a list in this case, right? Now let me uncomment the earlier part also. Okay, so earlier I am asking, I passed for linked list or array list in this case. Now if I try to, sorry, if I try to call this functions trigger.flyers, okay, now you can see that there is no red line here. If I just let me comment this part, now these flyers are linked list, but I have called these functions trigger flyers, fly flyers, land flyers, and it is expecting a list here. Okay, but here I am defining as a linked list. So when I am dealing with array list or linked list, it is showing that there is a mismatch of the type. But if I just pass it as a list, you can see that there's no issues there, and if I just try to run this code, it will work pretty much fine. Okay, so what is the change is happening here? The change happening here is the list. Now since array list and linked list are coming, are they are inherited, they inherited the list collection. Okay, so it is just like a reference variable that we can talk about. It's a super class, because since it's a super class, even if I have linked list and it is expecting a list, it will work pretty much fine, and it will work pretty much fine for interface objects as well. Okay, so I just connected the how we can use linked list, array list with the interface type of objects and abstract class object here as well. But only the difference showing I'm trying to show here is that given a mismatch of values are coming. So if I just again pass down to, instead of list, if I keep again array list, okay, if I just pass down to array list, you can see that already a red line is coming at line number 40, because the required type is array list and provided is linked list. Okay, but because they are not inherited or related to each other, it is a mismatch is happening. But if I just keep it as list, and both array list and linked list are inherited from the list class, I can extract it and I can use it from my own needs. Okay, so I think, yeah, that's where I will try to end the today's session here. There's more aspect of interface that I have to cover, that is like how I can extend the interface. I can't implement the interface, I can extend it, how to use it in multiple cases. So maybe I will cover, it might require another half an hour to 1 hour, so I will take it the next session. But if you have any question till now, because I have just shown the basic of the interfaces as well as of now in this, please please you can unmute yourself and then you can let me know. Okay, so today we have talked about AutoBoxing unboxing, okay, which will be very much useful when you're dealing with the linked list and array list. I'm keep on specifying this type of data type because you use that a lot, the way you use the arrays in your programming. Okay, so that is one thing. Enum, another important data type that you use a lot in your Java programs, followed by abstract classes and the interfaces. Interfaces we have covered half part, we will cover more in the next session, and we will come down to generics. There is something called a generics in Java. We will look into it and see that how generics makes Java much more powerful in this aspect. Okay, so yeah, I think that is from my side as of now. If you have any other question, please let me know. Otherwise, the session is end from my side. If you have any question with us, interface, abstract classes, or any other topic, please let me know. So I'm stopping the stopping the sharing part. Okay. Any questions? You can unmute yourself if you have. Okay. Fine. In that case, I'll stop the recording and I'll end the session here. Thank you everyone for joining.